What it do, peeps? It's the Beat Chef. This is the ride. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Please have a seat. Make yourselves comfortable. Buckle up for safety. Safety is important. We rolling through these WNBA streets. We talking about MVPs. They talking about co-MVPs, defensive players of the year, six woman. But man, when you say the wrong thing, they send a hit woman after you. And let's talk about one of the best in the business, Sarah Spain. Folks, when the WNBA went into the bubble, there was three things that came out of the bubble. One was the birth of Project B. Two was the birth of the Unrivaled Basketball League. And three was the birth of the Sue Bird media ecosystem. See, the WNBA players had already told you in the documentary 144 that they treated the WNBA as their sounding board, their vocal league. Overseas was their basketball league. So during the bubble, Sue Bird was going on her last stretch as a WNBA player. After she retires, she starts investing in companies that say they quote champion women's sports. One of them was Together X. The other one was Deep Blue Sea and Entertainment with Lauren Carenti. Lauren Carenti asked her to get a host for a podcast because they're doing a joint venture with iHeartRadio. She wants Sarah Spain. Sarah Spain was a talented person who worked at ESPN, used to hold her own with the fellas. But that kind of made Sarah Spain jaded, so she's kind of like a feminist. And so she attacks men, but she attacks women as well, even though she's on a platform promoting women. So she does this at the behest of who is basically her boss, Sue Bird. See, Sue Bird can say something, say negative towards Caitlin Clark, and you be like, whoa. But she uses other people on these different platforms to spin and control narratives. So now that MVP is talking, talks are starting to wrap up. If you notice, you'll hear him speak about everybody as an MVP except for Caitlin Clark. And that's by design because Sue Bird has effectively placed herself on every social platform and every platform that talks about the WNBA. And if you're not talking towards those narratives, they try to shut you down. So last week, veteran NBA insider reporter Rick Bucher, he spoke out about the women that were on ESPN and how they like to spin narratives, and it seems like their narratives are always slighted towards and against Caitlin Clark. I knew they wouldn't respond. I knew they would send Sarah Spain. Sarah Spain spoke out. And this is what Sarah Spain said. Sarah Spain said, NBA players need real media, but sounds more like league-approved PR. And this is from Fox News. This is from Outkick. Sarah Spain thinks the WNBA should steer its players towards what she calls real media. See, she wants to control. They want to control access to the players so that they can shield and protect them and narrate the stories the way they want to see them, not the way the world really sees them. And that's what Sarah Spain is doing. Now keep in mind, when Christine Brennan spoke out against Alyssa Thomas just at the end of late June, when she put her fist in Caitlin Clark's neck, Sarah Spain spoke out against Christine Brennan in support of Alyssa Thomas. See, Sarah Spain has a long history of hating on Caitlin Clark at the behest of older players. If you go back to 2024, this was Caitlin Clark's rookie year. This was around July. This was in 2024. This was right after the Kennedy Carter called. She called Caitlin Clark the B word. Uh, Pushed her in the back. This was after the leg sweep by Diamond to Shields. This was after all that. Caitlin Clark had already took a bunch of flagrant fouls up to this point. But watch how they try to make it seem like it's the fans and new people that are making a bigger deal than what it is. And they made total light of this whole situation.
Listen, in 10 to 15 to 20 for the remainder of time, Caitlyn will go down as whatever you want to call it, like the change, the one who made the change, this
Yeah.
pivotal person. She will 100%. But in other leagues, it was never like when LeBron came, it was like, oh, Michael Jordan didn't matter.
Yeah.
See, at this point right here, this is where these two showing their hands. No one discredited anything that the players from the past had done, especially when Caitlin Clark first came into the league. And this, like I said, this video is of July 19th, 2024. They wanted their butts kissed. They wanted them glazed and glossed to the highest order. And they weren't getting that. And these two are really the media pieces for the players that you don't see.
And for some reason that happened and
Right.
it caused this whole thing when the reality was no player felt a way towards Caitlyn. Everybody was very welcoming, inviting, and they mistook.
Everybody was welcome and inviting. So people, this keep in mind, this was in 2024. So you're hearing every other day Sue Bird or Cheryl Miller take a shot here and there. They've always done it. She's going to always do it. That's why I made the evolution of the point guard, because Sue Bird was that model point guard, and Caitlin Clark is that evolution, the current model. So it's almost like Terminator. It's like the 1984 Terminator is Sue Bird, and she was badass. And Caitlin Clark is that liquid model that can shape and shape shift and turn into different forms and really kick your butt. And the old model's pissed. So Sue Bird's an old raggedy ass Terminator that's jealous of a new Terminator.
I think competitive talk with
Right.
hate,
Yeah.
with hating on somebody.
Yeah.
And there is a thin line there, by the way, and some people do both and some people swing back and forth. But I think the majority of WNBA players.
I think people do both and swing back and forth, but the majority. So she admits that some people cross the line, but she says the majority don't.
With their play, with their talk, it was just competition, not hate for a person.
Yeah. And it's just sports, but we have trouble not being weird around women in sports. So we
Yes.
made it weird.
So they're deflecting at this point. But like I said, this is basic. Whenever you see Sue Bird and Sarah Spain, understand Sue Bird is Sarah Spain's boss. Sarah Spain is going to, they tasked the perfect hit woman to do their dirty work. Sarah Spain does not mind taking arrows on behalf of the sisterhood and on behalf of whatever Sue Bird wants her to spew out of her foul mouth. So you got to keep that in mind. But if you want to know about Sarah Spain, all you got to do is look at this paragraph right here. The show features, her show is called Good Game with Sarah Spain. The show features Spain's wide-ranging conversation with her guests on topics from life after pro soccer to the allure of the WNBA Fantasy League. She also delves into social issues on subjects like mental health, juggling athletics, and motherhood, and the intersection of women's sports and LGBTQ rights. So she's intertwined into a whole bunch of stuff. So, like I said, she is the poster child of a person that came out of that bubble in the WNBA on that 144 documentary. But Sue Bird has effectively placed different people in different levels of the media when it pertains to the WNBA. And those people have a huge part in the voting on those awards, such as MVP. So If Caitlin Clark does not win MVP, they don't show you who the voters are. If you saw the voters, most of the voters are the people that hate Caitlin Clark. The Andrea Carters, the Chene Ugamwais, all of those women have votes. All of those women were in that bubble. All of those women are friends with Sue Bird. All of those friends at some level have a podcast or a media entity that is tied to directly or indirectly to Sue Bird's ecosystem. All this talk of co MVPs is from Sue Bird's ecosystem. Sue Bird will never let Caitlin Clark shine on her own because she knows the more she shines. Because, like she said, if you listen to that clip, she said in 10 or 15 years, Caitlin Clark will be there and she should get the praise then. And she said, because it's cutting off the ones that were in the past. That was out of her own mouth. She's speaking about herself first and the other players. That's how they feel. They won't give Caitlin Clark an accolade until way later. Caitlin Clark will probably be in the league for 6 years before she wins an MVP award with the way Sue Bird has co-opted the media. But I had to let you know that because that was one of the three things that came out of it. And that's the one thing that you see. So when you don't see them ask questions, it's that ecosystem. It's that sub ecosystem that's in WNBA media that controls and operates messaging and narratives. And and Sarah Spain is the top hit woman on Sue Bird's roster that goes out and attacks narratives that are pro Caitlin Clark or anything that are in favor or in opposition of the 144. If they're in opposition to the 144, Sarah Spain coming to do wet work. Period, point blank. That's all she does is wet work. Sarah Spain had Muffet McGraw on her show less than a month and a half ago. And they did a whole segment on basically dissing Caitlin Clark because I told you in the Fall of the Irish video, Muffet McGraw blames Caitlin Clark for her retiring early because she decommitted from Notre Dame. And Muffet McGraw is still butthurt over that. But that MVP race, folks, it's going to be hard for Caitlin Clark to get that damn MVP with the way they got this thing stacked against her. The league, the team, the media, and some of the damn players on our own damn team. 4 elements that make up getting an MVP. But let me know your thoughts. Leave your comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.